Hey guys, this is James from TeaDB. I am bringing you a Inbetweenisode here. So, continuing along the vein of a few of the more recent Inbetweenisodes I've done, I am bringing a tea. I'm going to give it a rating. This is again a solo Inbetweenisode, as you can see by the lack of my company. So we're sitting here down at my tea couch. This is my normal tea setup. We're actually having a tea that I've been drinking quite a lot recently, but not necessarily in a typical Gong Fu style. And this is a ripe tea. This is the 2016, you can see it right here, 7452. It is one of the classic Dayi recipes for ripe. Please note, this is not the 7542, it is the 7452. So that's a slightly different recipe than, it's slightly different in terms of the numbers, but it's a ripe recipe. The 7542 is a raw recipe. Both are classics. This one's probably a little bit less known just because the 7452 is very famous. And so for this tea, I have been drinking it in the mornings with my wife, maybe 5 out of 7 weekdays. So really frequent tea. As you can see, I have literally just tinned the last little bit of the cake. And so we finished it probably in the course of maybe 2.5 months or so, I would say. It's one of those cakes where I just break off a bunch of it, put it in a tin, and then once the tin runs out, I will refill it again. The tin, in this case, isn't necessarily for airing out, although it will accomplish a little bit of that. It's more convenience. This is a Daiso tin. I've talked about them in other episodes. So Daiso is a Japanese dollar store. And so for me, this tea has been a really casual brew. You can see I'm using a really big teapot. I'll typically toss in 7 to 10 grams of leaf into this guy. This is, I would guess, 200 to 250 milliliters. I got it from the White Tea's tea warehouse. He sent me this as a gift a while back. So it tends to be a vessel. It's not glazed like a clay. Well, it's a not. It's different from a Yixing and stuff, and so I use a bunch of different teas in it. Sort of my casual brew pot, just because it's big. End up brewing quite a bit of ripe Pu'erh in it, and yeah. So I have already actually drinking from this pot this morning, and as I normally would. I've probably gone through about 4 or 5 infusions. So I've just made 6 and 7. You can see it's brewing up this nice darkish red color. This is not like a ripe Pu'erh that brews up like black, sort of like what is that one? The Lumber Slut from White Tea that I reviewed recently. So yeah, let's get to the tea. Cheers, guys. Really soft, woody, creamy, a bit of those vanilla vibes. This is not in that sort of cherry sweet ripe category. More in sort of I don't know, some woods. It's very clean overall. The leaf grade in it looks to be about average, which is kind of what you'd expect from a 7452. Very smooth. Sort of like a light dryness to the tea. It's very balanced in what it does. It's not as rich as a tippier ripe tea would be, which tends to hit faster. I mean, considering it's brewing up on infusion number 6 or 7, it's given me quite a bit of tea liquid so far, so that is quite nice. You can see I'm sort of brewing this sort of casually in the sense that I'm stacking some brews together. So it's a very office-like setting or very casual. Maybe have it after oatmeal or something in the morning. That's usually what I normally do. Yeah, so it's continuing along. A little bit more of that slight dry wood creaminess to the tea again. Pretty straightforward overall. The aroma is starting to die down just a little bit, as you would expect. I think if I were to brew this again, which I might a little bit later on in the day. I would probably push it a little bit. So usually my process for this tea is I will literally fill up big coffee mugs, which it usually takes about 2 infusions each of this to fill up a mug. I'll brew a little bit of extra to refill in the morning, and then we'll come back to this tea in the early afternoon, maybe have an infusion or 2 more, and move on. So really, really functional tea. Dayi is very famous for making good ripe pu'erh, and I don't think this is anything like insane or special, but for me it's a very easy daily drinker, very easy to drink. Yeah, and I got mine from Yunnan Sourcing, so it's probably possible to get this for less money on Taobao or something if you were so inclined, but the tea sells for $20 on Scott's site, and you could pick it up on a sale or something like that. So I found it to be not really worth the trouble, in my opinion, and I do trust Scott's Sourcing for Dayi tea, which is also extremely important, something that you would have to worry about if you bought it from Taobao. And in fact, you'd probably want to buy it from the Dayi tea mall if they sell that tea, and then the shipping and whatnot. So I bought these from Scott's Yunnan Sourcing website. I bought a pair of these cakes, so I'm not totally done with it, but I only really finish maybe 3 to 4 cakes per year. So it says something that this is one of them, and in fact I probably finished more ripe cakes than raw cakes, even though I talk a lot more about raw cakes and think a lot more about raw pu'erh cakes, but that's not necessarily meaning that it's what I drink. I have a lot more variety, for instance, but this is a tea, and just tin it up, drink it daily until it's pretty much gone, and I will move on to the next tea once this tin is down again. And so let's see, what else have I got? So I think this is just a really well balanced ripe pu'erh. It's not overly strong, overly rich, or anything like that. It's not terribly strong in any specific characteristic, but it is just very easy to drink, and clearly I've been able to drink this quite often. And I gave this a 5.5 in my rating scale, which, well, I shouldn't even say it's mine. I'm using the rating scale that Marco uses at mgualt.com/tlog, so please check him out too, which is enjoyable. I can drink this regularly. It's not overly impressive, and I think that's true. This tea is very solid, but it's really not something that I would set aside for a friend, a special tea friend to drink. It's more something that I can just have casually in the morning, and I think there's a big place for teas like that in most people's tea diets, especially once they settle down a little bit. I don't think I would be drinking this tea regularly if this was 3 or 4 years ago, but now after diving into tea pretty deep and more settling into stable routines and stuff like that, this fits in as just sort of something that you can really easily fit into your schedule. You don't have to think about it too hard. It brews easily. It tastes good. In terms of aftertaste, it's leaving just kind of a little bit of sweetness in the mouth. The body is about average. Nothing terribly special or exciting about the mouthfeel. And I think that just about concludes this In-Betweenisode. Let me know how you guys liked it. I will be trying to bring on a couple more like this, so hope you guys enjoy it, and I will see you guys soon. Cheers.